coupons, promo codes, discounts, 2-for-1 nights. Are they date territory? Would you use a coupon on a date? Would you take someone to $10 steak night?
Does she know? Does she find out? Do I get away with it? I think date, yes. Anniversary date, no. That's my line.
Yeah, look, true. And look, I'm a very frugal, like I will argue and haggle anyone down if I can. So I have gone on dates where I'm like, it's 2-for-1 steak night at the Piney. What do you reckon? You know?
If someone's taking you out on a night on the town and you're not, and they're paying and they're dealing with it, why do you give a shit if they get it for cheaper?
And sometimes, as the bargain hunter that I am impressed when we go to fancy-ass restaurant town and someone pulls out a 2-for-1. I'm like, hell yeah, that's great. Anniversary? No, thank you, please. Yes. Do not take me to $10 fucking dumplings night at the local if it's a significant anniversary date.
As I said, yes, tread carefully with the anniversary.
Because anniversaries, right, are meant to be this is how much, like show someone how much you love them. And if you only love them $10, that's not a very good, like, and I'm not super materialistic, but it's just the optics are not good.
Yes, but for most of us, I know for myself, I was born poor. I currently reside as poor and I'll die poor. So it can be hard to, you want to shower
but at the
gifts
very
and
least,
attention
right,
on your
wouldn't you rather, say, get a barbecue chicken from Woolworths and have a picnic?
Sure,
rather than taking like someone to a discount night at a place for an anniversary. Like you can do love on the cheap without it having a giant flashing neon sign saying it's cheap.
Yes, that's true.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I'm going to ask this in the group as well. I want to know in our Ghosts of Boyfriends Past group therapy group, I want to know, have you ever used a coupon or a promo code or a 2-for-1 on a significant date?
And I want to know, with a little bit of self-honesty, would you care if someone did?
Yeah.
If you were with someone and they got out the old coupon for the old 2-in-1, would you go, hang on, I'm worth a bit, but you're still getting the good, you're still getting what the
but if it's
food.
an anniversary, it feels less than.
Anniversary, no. Dating, on the odd date here and there, fine.
I'm proud of my coupon use sometimes. I'm like, look, I'm going to double up on these coupons and we pay nothing. Let's go for dessert.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. This is Ghosts of Boyfriends Past. I'm Liz Best.
I'm Tom Harris. Hello one, hello all.
Welcome everybody. This is one of our main episodes, which means we have a guest today.
Yes.
Our guest is... I'm not wording today. It's Sunday. We normally record on a Saturday and my brain isn't working. Our guest's name is Patrick Little. Welcome to the podcast, Pat.
Hey, thanks a lot, guys. Thanks for having me on.
Thanks for being on. Now, Pat is a fellow podcaster on the That's Not Canon network, so we thought we'd give him the opportunity to plug the crap out of his podcast right up top. So tell us a little about your podcast.
Give us the brief.
All right. Well, as Elizabeth said, I am Patrick Little, host of A Little History podcast. We are a
name. I love it.
It's a great name.
Little play on name. I'll play on words. Thought it'd be a little bit clever.
Yeah, I like
See how that goes. At the moment we're sort of we're in our second season now, and it's based mainly on mythology and retelling the stories of various mythologies and folklore, but telling it like we're having a couple of beers down at the pub. So
that's my favorite type of podcast. Anybody who listened to the podcast that I was previously on, that I now quit, sorry Zane, Castology, would know that I am a big fan of both history podcasts and chatty history podcasts. I don't like it when people are super like dry and long and like you know.
It sounds like it's being read out of a textbook or something like that.
We used to call those podcasts Zane Dry on Castology because they were always big favourites of our producer, Zane.
I love it. What's your favourite area of mythology? Do you like the Greek stuff? I
think given that I grew up in Australia in a very Eurocentric British point of view,
yes.
The Brits love Greek and Roman mythology.
Yes,
so
they
that's
do.
sort of what I grew up knowing, all about that sort of stuff. But then I've gotten into some really crazy realms. I did a 6 or 8 parter on the Romania, in the Indian epic poem. I did the Epic of Gilgamesh, which is a Near Eastern Near Eastern one, which is just wacky. I've done a couple of Japanese mythologies, which is sort of a little bit more branding on like folklore as well. I've done some Slavic and Russian stuff. It's all pretty cool. I think any story that seeks to explain a certain people or a certain culture's point of view, especially like explanations of the world, like how, like, oh, this is how this mountain came across, or this is how a peacock has feathers now.
Yeah.
Or this is why a peacock looks like it has eyes on its feathers. It's because
Fascinating.
some god fell asleep and got decapitated.
It's so interesting. I commend you for going around the world, for looking at every different cultures here, there, and seeing trying to understand where everyone came from.
Yeah,
not just relying on the old faithful. The Norse gods. They've been there for a while. They're always there to revisit.
Yeah, exactly. And there's a lot of diversity in mythologies and the stories that we tell each other over hundreds or thousands of years. But there's so many similarities, so many common themes that just ring true, and stuff that we make fun of in the modern day. So that's exactly what we do on the show.
So remind the listeners the name of the show.
Little History Podcast.
And we're going to have the links to that in the show notes as well. So you just be able to do a little clicky click and you'll be right there.
There we go.
Yeah, jump on board. We'd love to have you.
But Patrick is a guest on our show today to share tales of love and romance gone by. Here on the show, we do like to have a laugh and point and giggle, and we sometimes we cry, sometimes we agonize over decisions that people have made. At the end, though, we do like to wrap it up with a what did we learn? So we're not just here to have a good time. We're trying to do some good things with it as well.
Hopefully doing.
In that endeavor, however, we do have some rules.
The boring rules.
I think rules give you structure to then allow you to then have fun. What a guy I am to have at parties, huh? I think rules are important.
Rules are
everyone.
fun. Form an orderly line to get drinks at the bar.
So our rules are: if you could use an alias, that would be lovely. Please, Steve.
If you don't remember the people's names,
I could do Steve Patrick. Sorry.
Fine too.
Anyone that lets anyone who figures out who Patrick is and knows who they end up talking about today, no sharing of information, not just you in the studio here today, but those of you playing along at home.
Now, don't be a dick rule.
Yes, that's not the intention of the show.
No,
at
we don't want anyone to be like, I know who they're talking about, blah, blah, blah. That's not what this is about. We're about learning and laughing and sometimes loving. And then that brings us to our third rule: no threats.
No threats
on mic,
on microphone, please. You can swear.
Yes, we swear on this podcast. The only line I've ever drawn for myself was the C word.
I'll say it.
I say it in my everyday life, but the one time I said it on mic, I was like, no, that feels too far for me. Tom said it.
Yeah,
we've had a guest drop it before, so
yeah. I mean, it's one of those words that I. Every time I say it, I'm like, oh, I need to have a shower after that. And I'm like, that wasn't me.
Yeah.
That's not Patrick. I'm like, come on, Patrick, you can do better than that.
Yeah, and then today I was chatting with the guys when we were off air, and I think I used it about 4 times in one sentence, and then I was like, who am I?
So that's our rules. That's our stance on swearing. That's our guest. That's the premise of the show.
Let's
Patrick, over to you. Where do you want to take us to?
Well, dear listeners, I'll take you back to the wacky and weirdly hormone-filled world that is teenagehood.
Oh no, I feel awkward already.
Oh dear. No, there's no winners in teenagehood. No.
Although these days teenagers seem to not have their awkward face. Has anybody noticed that? It's just rude. Maybe it's women only, but
I feel like it's just more broadcast out there. If you're like, there's more weirder things that are socially acceptable now than they were probably. Well, I mean, I'm 38 now, so I'm pretty old.
You're
old.
my age.
Hey, winner. So it's like when growing up, there was a few more things that were a little bit more taboo to talk about when you're a teenager. Like I remember the point where I went to an all boys school, so everyone was like, "Oh, look at the girls, oh my god!" And you wouldn't talk about masturbation forever. And this isn't the main story about that, guys.
No, but it's still important to talk about this kind of stuff.
And it was one person one day was like, "Oh man, I had a wank over that person," and they're like, "Oh, did I just say that?" And everyone was like, Yeah, I had a wank too. And then so I was like, I was the first one to wank. And And then everyone's wanking. So
Yeah. And everyone's been doing it ever since.
nonstop.
And talking about it.
Tell you what, I am thrilled that when I was a teenager, there was no smartphones to film everything that we're doing, every stumble. There was no. I didn't have Facebook to put my horny, hormone-fueled, angsty posts up. Thank Christ.
Oh man.
Oh,
I don't know how teens navigate it today.
Thank you.
Like anytime I'm feeling particularly good about myself, Facebook seems to go, "Hey, here's a memory of something you posted like 9 years ago."
Yeah, remember this haircut?
You're having a crack at poetry, are you, mate? I'm like, oh, great, great. I'm like, I didn't even spell it right.
So in that swamp of emotion and hormones, your story begins.
Cool. My story begins. I thought I was quite the gentleman. I tried to be quite traditional with how I went about things. I was like, hold the door open for the girl, and
Lovely.
and it'll always be the one to pay. Which I found out now is probably a little bit on the sexist side. I think a woman has the right to pay as well.
I think you have the right to offer
Exactly.
at the top. You're allowed
My
to do
rule
that.
has always been, and I've said this several times on the podcast, is that if I want to see the person again and they offer to pay, I will let them. If I don't want to see them again, I'm not going to let them pay. And also I will say no. And if they insist again, and I do plan on seeing them again, I'll let them pay.
And where we go.
Now I just sort of open the car door and say, "Oh, you can take over at any time if you want to."
Go. Okay, it's opening. It's halfway open. Okay, cool.
Cool. So I was, as I said before, I went to an all boys school, and we had a few sort of camping expeditions with an all girls school.
Right.
As put a bunch of hormone kids together, and
were you all in the same area, or was there boys over here, your school over here, but they were closer over there?
We were separate sides of the city.
Right.
But we all came together for that. And then on the campsites, it was like, oh, you can all do stuff together, but obviously you sleep in girls' zones and boys' zones and all that. So I met this girl, we'll call her Ali, because this is where the infamous incident happens. So we'll say it was in an alley. So Ali was a year below me. So I was at year 11 and she was year 10. So scandalous already. We sort of found out from her friend, as you do in high school, that she was interested. And I thought, oh, that sounds pretty cool. Like, she's pretty stunning. Go for that. And she had this is just sort of an additive. She had a condition with one of her teeth. There was a top middle tooth where it was I think she classed it as being a dead tooth, but it was something that every now and again it would fill with blood and then get a little bit like dark.
Oh, the poor lamb.
Are you sure she's not a vampire?
Well, she insisted on coming out on like, midnight and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Darkened alleys.
That's right.
Should have picked this up.
Yeah.
No. Oh, goodness. That'd be a very awkward thing to have as a teenager.
Absolutely, because she was stunning. Absolutely stunning girl. And every now and again that would happen. And she'd be like, oh, I'm going to hide my smile away. And you're like, don't do that. It's a beautiful smile. Anyway, so we started, we went on a date. We met up at outside a Hoyt cinema, as you do.
Yep.
And she was like, okay. So I was like, oh, so what do you want to do? She's like, we should go in the elevator and go to the top of the car park. And I was like, okay, interesting. As soon as the elevator door closes, she jumps on and we're just like full on pashing. Before that, she wasn't timid, but she was, reserved. She was keeping up appearances. But then just full on makeout session.
Terrible teenage, over the top, making out that sort of no sense for other people, even if you are in
exactly like the lady trying to take her groceries home and other
I'll take the
corner.
next
She's like,
one.
oh, those kids, young love. Oh, they spit in my face. Oh.
Dreadful.
Yeah, and so that was about 3 hours of that. We didn't even go to see a movie. It's nothing like that. So very hot and heavy. On the outside pet, I was still quite innocent at that sort of stage. Done a few finger things and all that, but still very much a V card holder. I was
done a few finger things.
Things.
Yes.
Love it.
Fantastic.
And so we did that. We went home. Oh, sorry. Then we left. We parted ways. I think I walked her to a bus or something like that.
Made out furiously before she got on.
Furious makeouts. It was great. And so that sort of continued for a couple of weeks. Here and there, we would always meet up after school in the bus interchange.
Yep.
Where seemed to be the best place in the world to do things, or just anything really. Not realizing that it's cold, It's dank. You've normally got a few druggos walking around.
Bus exhaust.
People trying to bloody mug you or something like
Yeah.
that. But yeah, that's where all the school buses came in. So you'd always wait for each other. And, oh yeah, you hold hands. You walk through, the arcade or food court or something like that. And so anyway, and so we're both private school kids. So I've got my blue blazer, dark grey sandpaper pants, like just them. They cook in summer and they keep you well warm in winter. So it's that sort of attire. She's got the hideous long dress that just makes you feel super awesome about being a woman, I'm sure.
Boxy, yeah. Look, I went to both private and state school, and I much preferred my state school uniform rather than boxy box dress with a terrible tie that served no purpose other than to pin it onto the front of this fucking smock.
Get caught and shit and blow in your face when it's windy and all that. I should mention there was a point before this bus time where we were, on the outside, heavy pet edging and all that jazz. But I was like, should we've been going on for a little while. I really like you. I feel like we're going pretty well together. Do you want to progress it, get some mouth stuff going on or something like that.
Got to go from the finger stuff to the mouth stuff eventually.
Let's upgrade.
That's such a good way of bringing it up.
And
Mouth stuff?
And anyway, so she goes, "Oh no, I don't really like that. I find it's really gross."
Okay.
That sort of thing. And I was like, "Oh, okay, that's strange." I thought it was supposed to be really nice. But I was like,
it's for a young girl. That's because mouth stuff's intimidating.
Oh, very true. Very
scary.
True.
The penis is not a pretty thing in my.
So aggressive.
It's not a very attractive thing.
It's not something that you can open up and
there's no
work
secrets
softly
inside. It's all fucking there and pointing at you.
It's like, what are you going to do? Yeah, that's a terrible penis voice, but that's all right.
I want to get a...
Okay, we need a cartoon character. Get one of our animated friends on it.
Yes.
And so anyway, we meet up at the bus interchange and she's like, okay, we should go for a walk. And I go, absolutely, that sounds great. And she goes, let's go this way, away from the shops. It's sort of there's a bit of a connector between an old movie cinema, and a bowling alley. And there's like a walkway there. And she goes, oh, let's go into this alley.
Oh,
hence her name. And there's a couple of milk crates there. And she goes, okay, why don't you sit down on the milk crates and we'll sort of like hang out for a bit. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. I was like, I got a perfectly warm room at my place. Like the couch is pretty cool. Like that's fine. And so she sits on and straddles, and we just heavily make out and all that. And it's getting nice and warm. It's an autumn day, I believe it was. So it's brisk,
crispy.
Yeah. So body temperature is good. Mm-hmm. And like it's getting you're warming up because you're getting into it and all that.
Yeah.
And then I noticed it's getting warmer down in the lap area.
Uh-huh.
And it's getting warmer and warmer. And then it starts getting moist.
Uh-huh.
And not like, there's an extra layer of sweat here. It's more like, there's something running down my leg.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
And then I'm thinking, I'm sitting there in my head going, no, because I'm an idiot. I'm a teenage boy who didn't really pay attention during sex ed or anything like that. And so I'm like, they told us this kind of stuff would happen. Don't worry, Pat. Just keep going.
Oh,
just
no.
Go. And then she sort of goes, just pulls back and goes, oh, no. And I was like, oh, what's going on? She's like, I am so sorry. So sorry. And I was like, oh, what do you mean? What's going on? And she goes, I have to tell you something. I go, well, all right. What is it?
Oh, no.
She goes, I feel terrible. She goes, I feel terrible about this, but I really like you. And when I really like someone and when I'm really feeling something, I can't control the muscles down there. And I'm like, at that point, the penny like ding finally drops for me. And I'm like, oh, so that's all like, and she's like, yeah. And I was like, oh, in my head, I was like, fuck, what do I do? What do I do? Like I'm in the middle of a bus interchange.
Oh.
And we're both covered in that. I'm like, what are we going to do? And I was like, no, I said, it's completely fine. Like it happens. I'm sure. in my head, I'm saying whatever I can to help her feel better, because it must be super embarrassing to have that happen.
Yeah.
In any capacity, let alone when you're getting to be much more intimate with somebody, and then that goes on. And
So look, just to clarify, we're talking
a golden shower.
Yes, I just wanted to make sure that it wasn't some kind of squirting issue, that it was actually a little bit of wee.
But is that real, the squirting thing? That's what because you see it on Pornhub, and they're just like, I just put 1.25 liters of water up there, and now I'm just.
I've spoken to some women who it happens to, and it's not pee; it's from a different place.
Yes,
and sometimes I don't know. Depends.
So it's more of a natural reaction as opposed to something that is hyper-centralized on the wonderful world of Pornhub, for instance.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Cool.
Both.
Sweet.
Producer Zane says both.
Both with a vigorous nod.
Yes.
Anyway, so it was she's let
love.
her bladder's gone, and she's feeling pretty red-faced about it.
I can imagine.
I was like,
Poor lamb.
I was like, it's fine. It's absolutely fine. I mean, look, these grey pants cover up anything. They're all good. Like, and to be fair, like that school, kudos for their terrible pants, because you could not tell. You could have shat yourself and
that
got
kind
away
of
with it.
dark grey wool thing. Like, yeah.
Oh man.
So a moment of retroactive sympathy for Ellie in this.
Same way
one.
for her. She's got like brown grey stockings, so the deed is secret. You can walk home for that. I'm saying no, it's complete.
Okay.
It's fine. It happens. This isn't something to be embarrassed about. It's a natural thing. Because she's told me all that. I'm like,
like teen boy, like, what do you do?
Exactly.
Like, what do you do?
Like, I really
the
like
fact
you.
that
Like,
you even tried to console her is a good thing, because some teen boys would have been
You didn't
very
freak out
different.
or get angry or get mad.
Or be like,
man.
gross.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, so I was. You look back on it years later, and you're like, "Mate, was she luring me down that alley?"
yeah.
Am I one in a system of in like a number of victims who are walking and go, "I got peed on, but I can't tell anyone about it."
Yes, mayhaps.
Well, I'm sure that wasn't the case. I'm hoping anyway. But yeah, we sort of like, I said, that's absolutely fine. Let's send you home. We'll both go home, and let me know when you're there, and we'll chat tonight if you're feeling up to it. And we sort of chatted for a few days, and then like a week from that, from the pee incidents, she breaks up with me.
Rude.
She's just like, I don't think it's really working.
Maybe she was so embarrassed that she just
yeah.
needed to nope out of there.
Must have, like, maybe.
I don't know.
I wonder if she was picturing you going back to an old boys' school and telling everyone. That's what she's picturing. Maybe.
Little did I. No, I didn't. No. I did.
I was going to be like, don't be that jerk.
No, God, no. Never name and shame about stuff like that.
Yeah, it's good on you, and I'm glad that you didn't. But yeah, maybe that's a possibility. You think, he's going to tell all the boys at that boys' school. God, poor thing. I'm so
Absolutely
sympathetic.
Absolutely. I was like,
the
man,
poor
I'm pretty bummed about getting dumped by her, but at the same time, I'm like, oh shit, she must be feeling terrible about getting to a point where you open up to a point like to a person like that, and then immediately it's like falling pregnant on the first time you have sex.
Yeah,
you're
it's
just
fucking unlucky.
Yeah,
No.
that's very true. Oh my god! Wow.
Yeah.
And
that's kind of it. Yeah, the teenage boys and girls do what they do, and you kind of once you're out of a relationship, you kind of sort of drift away. And
especially if you don't go to the same school, it's very easy to drift to a different end of the bus interchange and introduce yourself to someone else.
It wasn't long before I just stopped going to the bus interchange altogether.
Right.
Every time you just got PTSD about getting no, that wasn't it. It was more so the fact that I'm standing there in the middle of winter sometimes, like autumn, winter, even in summer it's friggin' hot. And you sit there going, I don't like being in bus interchanges normally.
No.
I'm like, I could be at home playing Nintendo 64 with my mates and my brothers, or go down to the Oval and kick the footy, play cricket, read a book, talk to girls, do something. Like, I don't need to be standing in a bus interchange that's got somebody's vomit next to me and then some half-eaten potato scallop. And I'm like, I'm pretty hungry, but I'm not that hungry,
No one's that hungry. Well.
So yeah, I got out of the interchange like that, but it was just a strange thing. I was always like, why that kind of made me think about the hand stuff, how she was, and then the mouth stuff, how she was like, oh, I think it's kind of gross. I mean, she could have been looking out for me, which was always on guard for that one. But
I want to jump in with something that I've learned first. Normally we ask the guests what they learned, but there's one big thing that I think that we need to talk about is that I think young boys and young girls need to know a lot more about anatomy.
Correct.
Yes.
From a lot earlier age. And come at me if you want to sit there and say that that's sexualizing people at a young age, but the number of adult men making decisions about women's bodies who don't even understand how those women's bodies operate is fucking astounding.
Absolutely.
Now, is this something that happened just recently in the
look,
modern
by
day?
the time this airs, there's probably been a couple of weeks of protesting going on for the whole Roe v. Wade thing. That's not entirely where I'm going. It is a little bit because I'm still raging and I want to burn shit down.
It'll be Handmaid's Tale over there by the time this comes out, I think.
It's just the news now, the Handmaid's Tale. It's
Crazy
just
shit.
what's happening.
Oh my God.
But I think, like, I've, had to explain to grown-up adult men that there isn't just one hole down there for girls, that we don't pee and have babies out of the same hole.
You are not birds.
There
It's not
needs to
you don't have
be-
a cloaca.
No.
where it all happens. No.
No, and the difference about the fact that, no, you can't have sex with somebody and hit them right in the fallopian tubes. That's not
Yes.
it's I think that, and I don't know whether it was just that we got taught about men's anatomy and boys just don't get taught that because they might get distracted. Because I remember learning about boy anatomy, and I don't know, I just think that everybody from a very young age should just be taught basic anatomy, not necessarily in a sexualized way, but in a here's what can happen, this is what happens, here's where everything fits and goes and doesn't go. And
I think from coming from a private Catholic boys background, I think when we did have sex ed, it was there, but it was really
It's
just
But I
weird.
think they
Just
take a
weird.
step away from it and don't even make it sex ed, like basic biology before you have to study biology. Like the number of times where I've had friends of mine who've had children saying that little boys and girls are getting curious and whatever because they've never been talked to, and realizing that you don't have the same anatomy as someone of a different assigned gender is really confronting if you haven't been told about it.
Absolutely, yeah.
So that's my lesson learned, is that teach people more about bodily functions and stuff that can happen from all genders. And yes.
And maybe not have a particular religion assigned to that.
Yes.
Really, this is a vagina. This is the Jesus. Okay, spot to go.
Yeah, yeah.
This is a bottom. This is a Jesus.
Yeah.
No spot to go. You're like, what the
Yeah.
No
maybe
screwing with kids.
you do you when it comes to religion, but don't put it in our faces.
Exactly.
Thanks so much.
Very much non-religious, but it was always there. And I feel like that was a really weird way to look at sex ed. It's always like, when you do it, and you will be married when you do it, by the way, kids. And they talk about the union with God and all that
Having
jazz.
a threesome with God before you've even had sex is just
God.
not a concept I want to think about.
Always when you rub your shoulders while you're going at it. You're going,
Yeah.
JC's got my back.
Yeah.
It's really, you're high-fiving your partner as
No.
well. It's bizarre, really bizarre.
Jesus, like, finger stuff? Okay. So through that whole experience of teen awkwardness, what did you learn?
I think looking back at the time, not a lot.
Yeah.
Because
And that's fair.
You'd went to any sort of at least for me, any sort of self-reflection didn't happen very quickly or very often. You sort of go, I'm a teenage boy. I'm going to go and do what teenage boy stuff do.
Yeah.
I want to go play video games. I'm going to go distract myself with other things as opposed to looking inward, which, it takes years and experiences and stuff like that to do it. So I think looking back now, what I learned from that is, I guess, always be open to what your partner may be feeling and try to be empathetic about what they're going through. And I feel like I was in that sort of way. But I think, at the breakup, when she broke up with me, I was very like, okay, well, she's broken up. She doesn't want to be with me anymore. That's on me. I'll respect her wishes.
Yeah.
As opposed to that could have been she could have been made out of a thing of fear or deep shame or something like that, which you shouldn't feel shame about that anyway.
No.
But you're a teenager trying to.
And your body's your body. Like, your body's going to do some pretty weird shit, and everybody's body does weird stuff. And we all just need to be a little bit more okay with everybody's body being weird.
Exactly.
I think my little life lesson is, over the course of a relationship, you spend enough time with someone, you're gonna catch their vomit or something. There will be a
Some
moment.
bodily fluid will end up near, on, or in you.
And it's fine. It's okay. It's fine. It's not the end of the world.
Absolutely.
Showers
For either of
exist.
we're pretty good with soap and detergents nowadays. It's okay, everybody.
Absolutely.
And
There's
some
no-
people are into that, and that's okay too.
And I wanted to commend
as
you.
long as both of them are into it.
Yeah, that's right.
It's got to be two-way.
And
Essential.
I wanted to commend you retroactively again for snapping to, in the middle of a weird situation like that, for snapping to sort of, you might have been freaking out in your head a bit and reeling a bit, but you seem to have snapped to common sense and respectability and trying to understand. So good on you.
Trying not to make an awkward situation more awkward.
Even worse.
Yeah. So good on you there. Well then, gee whiz, a deep
I
breath,
want
everyone.
more teen awkwardness stories. Producer Zane, the second that I said it, I knew that he would be like, no, thank you, please. This is awful. But if you've got any awkward teen stories that you don't want to put a voice to, please write in at ghostofboyfriendspast@gmail.com or hit us up on any of our social medias. I want teen romance gone wrong.
It is a bit of the cheat way to get good stuff on this podcast, because teenagerhood is
dumb
just
as shit.
Oh my
it's
God.
just rife
We
with.
were idiots.
I can give you guys one for free right now.
Oh please,
Okay,
please.
go.
And this is a reason why I didn't go out on a date with a girl. Mm-hmm. This is about the same time. A year before. So I'm 16. I'm on a bus coming back from this camping thing, and one of the girls. So the whole weekend, I'd had my eye on this girl, really, really pretty blonde, really nice and all that. And she would hang out with her friend, who I was like, I'm not interested in that. I was more eyes for the other one, and then. The one I was into sort of reached. She's sitting behind me on the bus, and she reaches forward and she says, "Hey, Pat, I've just got to let you know, my friend really likes you." I couldn't think of her name.
I was like, Stella.
Stella.
Wait.
Yeah. My friend Blanche. She really likes you. She wants to go on a date, and I was like, "Oh man."
Oh.
I was like, I can't tell her. Thank you so much, but I'm actually saving for a cricket bat for the next season of cricket.
Look,
Which I wasn't.
it's not the smoothest excuse.
Can't date you. I'm saving
It's
for
not-
a cricket bat.
I'm saving myself for cricket.
You should come
Can
and
you
watch
ma-
the game.
can you-
The battle will be really good.
The scene
Really
the
shiny.
scene I need is her going back to the friend and going, he said he's buying he can't. He's buying a cricket bat.
She probably turned to her and just, he's gay.
Yeah.
He's not interested.
He's into cricket. It's not worth it. Oh, thank you for the freebie.
That was a great freebie. I want more like that. If you have a story like that, you can maybe even go to our Ghosts of Boyfriends Past group, therapy group. We share all kinds of weird and wacky shit and stories. We ask questions, we give advice, we share memes. It's pretty cool. I love it.
That's right. Otherwise, rate and share the show, please. This episode was quite a rort. We've all had a good little laugh at it. Someone else in your circle of friends or life will get a kick out of it. Not just the stories, the advice that we end up with along
And
the
if
way.
you like history and you like people chatting history, little easy laughing at history, chatty stories, a little history podcast. We're going to have all of that in the show notes because Patrick is the host and that's what we do. We like to share other people's podcasts to our audience. So give them a listen, give them a rate, give them a review, give them a subscribe.
If you liked his sultry tones on our show, go and listen to him full time.
Thanks a lot, guys. Exactly what they said.
Yes.
Just do it.
Do it.
Just
Jump on
do
board.
it.
It's history, but it's definitely not like you've heard it before. And there's lots of other random segues. We talk a lot of shit about each other. Random scenarios that happen with the gods and all that wouldn't happen. Only would happen through a modern lens.
Yes.
So,
Right.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
It's not a stuffy history podcast.
if somebody called it stuffy, I'd
Your little heart would break.
I would I have one solitary tear. Oh.
In the meantime, please send us your teen stories
Yes.
because let's face it, teens are complete idiots. And we love that.
Yeah.